What's up, guys? This is Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the overall market. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. So there's going to be a big test in the market that's coming up. As you guys could tell, SPY has bounced alongside the QQQ. But the question is, can we break all-time highs to continue to run? Or do we get some kind of rejection as we're going to be forming another gap? And then also know that when we open, right? I know it's a little hard to see. There's a yellow dotted line right here. This is where the market is. If we open, there's going to be one, two, three gaps below at that point. So, it's kind of risky, right? We're going to gap up three times on SPY. There will be three gaps below. So, will we turn back down to start filling these gaps, or do we keep on running? I'll be watching that very closely. I'll talk about the levels in just a second to know if we're about to get a rejection or not. Just know a few things. Today is the last day of the month. It's the last Friday of the month as well. It's also Halloween, so have a very happy Halloween. I just want to note that we have Logan from the Fed giving a speech at 9:30 a.m. Then we have the Chicago PMI at 9:45 alongside Boston at noon. That's pretty much it for data. There's nothing else that's too significant. Besides that, what's really helping the markets is this news about earnings. Amazon's up 13%. That's why the market's going to gap up alongside Apple being up 2%. Apple and Amazon had good earnings. Amazon beat expectations with great growth for their cloud business. And then their guidance is very strong for next year. And then on top of this, Apple had good earnings and their iPhone 17 demand is off the chart, according to Tim Cook. Whereas, the Chinese revenue is expected to also increase, according to Tim Cook. Good job for Amazon and Apple. They are gapping up, which is going to help the markets. Besides that, let me just remind you all that we have lots of option expirations for today. A 2.91 puts to call option ratio. This could also cause some volatility, but at the same time, it is the last day of October, so you never know what's about to happen. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to gap up, okay? If SPY could take out 686, I see us retesting 688. If that breaks, we're bullish. We're going for the 690s pretty easily if we could hold above those levels. If we gap up and reject and we end up losing 682 again, then I see a risk of this being kind of like an inverse cup and handle, and we're looking for a dump to fill this gap at 677 or below. I predict we're going to gap up when we open, and then we're going to see some consolidation. But then watch and see if we continue to go higher, if we get this rejection. As of right now, I do see a risk of rejection looking at the setup, especially since we're going to have three gaps below. But we'll see just to be safe, okay? We're going to be very patient and unbiased about the way in which we go about things. I do think we gap up, and I'm personally think it's a little bit more likely we kind of like reject, but we'll see just to be safe. We always want to watch for confirmation, be unbiased traders. We don't want to be too biased with this market because it's a very, very tricky market, and there's going to be lots of manipulation today. So let's see how it ends up going. How well can the market sustain these levels as we gap up? And are we about to come back down to fill the gap and start dipping to fill more gaps? We'll see about that. Same thing with the triple Q, okay? If we could hold above and we're very close to this level, basically like 638, if that breaks, we easily push for new all-time highs. But once we gap up, here's the thing. If we can't hold above 636, though, we could be dipping to fill this gap, taking us back down towards 630. It's possible this forms like a double top, and if we end up losing 632, there's going to be a risk of us dipping even lower back down for like 625 or below with a double top. So watch this very closely. We're very flat right now in terms of the 4-hour candlestick. Even though we're going to gap up very hard, we're going to see if we reject and come back down to fill the gap. I do think that's the most likely possibility, but we'll see just to be safe. Now, the IWM is already weak. It's even red in the after hours and the pre-market, excuse me. So we need to get back above 246. If not, it's going to likely be dipping back down to 243. And then we also have another gap at 238. There is downside risk on the IWM. On ES, we're barely consolidating around 6,900, the key level I talked about yesterday. We need to hold above this and try to push off this, right? If we can't hold 6,900, I do expect us to return to 6,860 or below, especially as we have this gap down here to fill. On NQ, we basically have this resistance around 26,300, and we have support at 26,114. So if we can't hold our 20 EMA, there's going to be a risk of us dipping lower to about 26,000 flats, and that can also take us much lower. On Bitcoin, we're looking a bit more bullish. We're going to see if 110,500 breaks. If not, we could reject right here. So be careful. We're at resistance on Bitcoin. Tesla is not looking that great for bulls because even though we're trying to pump, here's the thing. It looks like a left shoulder head and then a right shoulder could be forming. Watch 450. If we take that out, we could try to push. If not, we could reject. Another reason why rejection makes sense is because not only is there a head and shoulders, but simultaneously there's this gap to fill back down at 434. Might pump and dump, so we'll see how it goes. Nvidia needs to take out 208 and 210 to continue to rally. As of right now, there's a gap below at 204. So if we don't hold 208, we could be dipping back down to fill that gap. The overnight gap could get filled. So be careful. Appl pumped. We need to hold above 280 to be bullish. If not, we could turn back down to 275. Be careful as it's kind of flat right now. AMD tried to break out to 260, but doesn't break. We're looking for 256 again. Coinbase needs to hold above 345. If it doesn't, it could be dipping back down towards support, which is going to be around 338 and 335. So be careful in case we end up getting a rejection. Amazon, however, looks more bullish. As long as you don't lose 250, we're going to be favoring the 260s. Meta, however, is rejecting. It kind of bounced now. It could be turning back down for like 660. Google's making a lower high unless we hold above 287. There's going to be a risk of it dipping to 280 or below. And Microsoft needs to hold above 530. If not, we're looking for 525 or below to be tested as well. The VIX, it's obviously down right now. We're going to see if it bounces off a double bottom or not. It's kind of like range bound. So be very patient, guys. And with that being said, I do want to warn you guys to be careful. We're going to gap up on SPY in the QQQ, but then that's three gaps. Three gaps are going to be below where we currently are, right? There's going to be one overnight. There's going to be another one back over here at 677, another gap down here at 672. Will we break the all-time high and continue to run? We need some kind of a catalyst to do so. And if we don't, if we can't take out these resistances at 686 and 688, we could kind of consolidate here and then dip back down. It is Friday, so expect some choppiness and manipulation. We might shop around when we open, but there is that risk of us turning back down to fill that gap if we can't break resistance. So don't forget about that. The QQQ is looking a bit stronger than SPY, but here's the thing. We have not taken out the all-time high to remain bullish. If we do so, yes, I could turn more bullish. We're gapping up. We're going to consolidate, and then we're going to see if we turn back down or not. There's going to be a big gap below. There's also many gaps left on the QQQ, so we'll see how it goes. The best thing I could tell you is be unbiased, be very, very neutral, and watch and see if we get that rejection, okay? Always manage risks. Thank you all so much for listening. I'll be back in a couple of hours with another update. Have a good rest of your guys' days, and peace out.